Welcome to the Monday stream. Hope everyone's having an awesome Monday morning. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Oh boy, I definitely had my my work cut out for me yesterday. We actually finished a raised garden bed. Yesterday we went to go finish up the filling it up with soil and planting the seeds and stuff like that. It's looking really good. I think I posted the picture in the Discord. Hey, thanks for the follow, AJ Ronnie. How's it going, Dick Zeke? How's it going, Anarchist Laboratory? Yeah, it's super exciting. I'm hoping that here we can grow some shallots. I'm hoping that it would work out. Thanks for the follow, appreciate that. Hey Arnak, how's it going? One of the cons of living in the Midwest is I gotta wait till spring to plant anything new. Yeah, the seed packets actually said that, but hopefully it will be fine. I don't know if it's too hot, because here we have the problem that sometimes it can be too hot and not really work out. Like, for example, we tried broccoli, and the first time we tried broccoli, we put it outside and it just like withered immediately. Hey Dark Knight, we just had a big snowstorm this weekend. Oof. I'm decent home with my family for the next bit. We have all been quarantining, so it's safe for us to spend Christmas together. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I believe I believe this Christmas we might spend it just the four of us. In Iowa, got covered in snow. Ooh. Hey, Stupka, how's it going? We had a little snow, but now we won't see 40 degrees until March. Oof. I started feeling sick Tuesday quarantine with my fiance. She never got sick, fever, right? But so did my taste and smell. Went to get tested. She's negative and I'm positive. Yet we've been together the entire time and she hasn't shown any symptoms. Yikes. Dang, Dick Zeke. It could be a. Is it one of those rapid tests that you get quickly? It was a lab test? That's so strange. That's so strange because sometimes the rapid test can give false negatives if you're asymptomatic. I'm not sure if that's the case if I'm not sure that's the case if it's the same for PCR. It is strange. She's like she's like immune or something. You know what? You might want to ask Doc Midnight about that. It could just be a test failure or a false negative because sometimes they will produce false negatives for asymptomatic people, or you're right, maybe she already had it and none of you knew. I don't know. I would honestly ask a doctor, but interesting. And sometimes you're the extreme unlikely occurrence of a test failure. Yeah, it could happen. Absolutely. We've had plenty of evidence, or rather, I should say, we've had plenty of times where tests can produce false negatives. This is the reason why I was saying that the Trump administration was absolutely irresponsible in just relying on these rapid tests and not realizing that sometimes even the people who made this test even said that it can produce false negatives for people who are asymptomatic, right? So it's like it really is all about trying to just listen to what the healthcare professionals are saying and like doing exactly what Dick Zeke is doing. Like as soon as you find out, quarantine and that's it, just like Dick Zeke is doing. False negative rate for PCR is anywhere between 2 to 37%. Yikes. That's a very wide margin. That's 2 in every 100 tests. 37 in every 100 tests isn't great though either. True. Hey, thank you so much for the subscription, Memius. I appreciate that. We're on a 2-month streak. 3 months. Sorry. Nice. And we got a cool little emote. Thank you, Memius. I appreciate that. Hope you're doing all right. right? And that would be the best test that we have. Doc Midnight mentioned that they're looking into researching genes being sources of predisposition to the severity of COVID. Interesting. So it has a genetic aspect to it. Hey, Amy May, how's it going? Yeah, I thought I would share that strange bit of information I just learned. Weird how she didn't show a symptom of anything, but I've seen almost all of them. She's been with me the entire time. We're just assuming she has it and is asymptomatic. Yeah, it can totally happen. 100%. I mean, it's not like it's unheard of. It's just bizarre, and I guess the experience is bizarre because you saw all the symptoms up to and including losing taste, and she didn't. I don't know. It just goes to show how we just need to take this seriously, because you could either see all the symptoms or none of the symptoms. You may experience very mild, or you may experience hospitalization. You could be healthy and you could be healthy and pass away, or you could have comorbidities and somehow, like, you don't pass away from it. So it's like, it's so unprecedented, and I think that we should just take it seriously and assume that just assume that the quicker we stamp this out, the better. Yep, that's right. There's people who get zero symptoms the entire time. From what I understand, the scientific medical community thinks that there's a genetic component to how severe the symptoms are during the infection. Ah, interesting. I need to spend more time in Doc Midnight stream, learn more about this. Doing alright, just cooking up some breakfast. Nice, Memius, nice. Not being able to taste has been the most depressing thing so far. It's very, like, I've never seen a virus respond in this manner. I've never seen a virus like take away taste. It's so bizarre. Eggs and hash browns today, nice. Alright, folks, we do have a couple of headlines to get through, so let's get this show on the road. I heard vitamin D is supposed to help a lot. Is it vitamin D? You just need to get a vaccine and get to Canada. I read through the report I linked. There's a loose guide that a practitioner is supposed to use to determine the likelihood of a false negative, and the more factors that a patient presents with that lead you to believe that they may be positive, showing symptoms, contact with positive people, etc., that the less a negative test should be believed. Oof. Yeah, all this tells me is, like, this is an unprecedented situation and we should just take it seriously. Wow. My oldest brother lost his sense of taste and smell when he had it a couple of weeks ago. I felt like I was breathing in shattered glass. Jeez. I had a serious brain fog when I had it back in July, but my senses were fine for the most part. Do you still experience that, or is that part, or has all those symptoms more or less subsided, or... That's the complaint I've heard most about, is a taste bud dismissal. Hey, Sebstab, how's it going? All right, folks, let's get through some headlines here. I've not followed into the research, but does anybody know? Um, does anybody know what receptor the vaccine binds to and what is the normal function of the receptor? Okay, so unfortunately, I'm not qualified. Actually, you know what? You know who'd be a great person to ask? Um, you should follow Round Midnight. Wait, did I? Oh, oops. Sorry. Hold on, folks. Hold on. There we go. You should follow Round Midnight, Rick, and he probably would be able to answer that question. Just woke up, doing fine. Awesome. It's definitely a long-term impact on my lungs. It compounds on my asthma, but I don't know the extent of it yet. Yeah, I can only imagine. Ugh. All right, folks, let's get through some headlines. So which test to use? Yeah, this is the link that we saw here. Molecular test and antigen test. Well, that's after the fact. For more accurate antigen tests, because the antigen testing is quicker, less expensive, and requires less complex technology to perform than molecular testing, some experts recommend repeated antigen testing as a reasonable strategy. No problem, Rick. Yeah, absolutely. They're more qualified to answer, and they could probably give you more detailed response because they actually work in the front lines of this thing. All right, folks, I'll start off with some cool, interesting headline. I should say study. Apparently, researchers discover hemp could actually help restore bee populations. It turns out, hemp is actually really good for the bees. And the reason why that's important is because bees are extremely crucial to our ecosystems. Hemp provides bees excellent nutrition when they need it the most. Interesting. Hemp attracts bees in droves, a new study finds. Research tested several strains and found that bees, both wild and domestic, love them all, especially the taller varieties. It's an unusual finding considering cannabis doesn't possess the sweet nectar or bright colors typical of flowers that attract pollinators. The research speculated it has something to do with the plentiful pollen found in hemp flowers. Yeah, no kidding. On top of that, hemp blooms right when the bees need it the most, between the end of July and end of September, right when other pollinator-friendly flowers disappear. Expanding hemp cultivation in the US could provide food for the bees during a time of year when few other options are available to them. This is very interesting because, as some of you may know, the bee population has taken quite the hit, and this could be used to help restore some of them. In a preliminary study last year, researchers from Colorado State University came to similar conclusions. They set up bee traps in industrial hemp fields during peak flowering season, and collected almost 2,000 bees from 23 different bee genera. Nearly half of those were classic honeybees, but native solitary bees such as Melisotis bimacata and Heponapapus prunosa turned up in surprisingly high proportions. That's so cool. For a second there, I thought it was a... What's going on here? Okay, for a second there, I thought it was a word text. Alright, cool. The researchers noted that earlier experiments looking at crops like genetically modified canola flowers didn't produce the same volume or varieties of bees. Oh wait, I skipped this. Industrial hemp can play an important role in providing sustained nutritional options for bees during cropping season, wrote the study author Colton O'Brien, a soil and crop scientist for Colorado State University. In addition to food, hemp provides habitat. On a continent where much of the acreage is dedicated to non-pollen producing monocrops covered in bee-harming insecticides, introducing more pollinating crops is critical to the survival of bees and the ecosystems they occupy. Yeah, it turns out bees are extremely important. A new meaning for getting buzzed. Bees are adorable. The problem is I can't pronounce that. Neon isotinoid pesticides. If we don't ban them, there's not much we can really do to save the bees. Yikes. The sad thing is how many of our technologies and our chemicals affect bees. Yes, and they're super, super, super important. Honey farming is also super barbaric and harmful practice. Oof. Yes, bees are extremely important. Wasp, on the other hand, fell right off. Yes. Unless we can like isolate this, and have specific areas where we can have large hemp crops that are free from pesticides, that are away from these other I mean, first of all, oops, sorry. First of all, the things that need to happen are, you need to kind of decommercialize, I guess would be the word, or decentralize these large commercial farming practices, and be more strict about what is allowed, because it's not just affecting bees, but an important wildlife, but it's also affecting the water supply, the soil, and it has so much repercussions. The type of chemicals and pesticides and stuff like that we use that aren't that we could have so much better alternatives, and there exist alternatives that we could use, but we could also have separate hemp crops to help not only the bee population, but also to be a gateway to eliminate a lot of the stuff that we use from fossil fuels, right? A lot of the stuff that is oil-based can now be hemp-based. Yes, I did. Yes, I don't think that these large commercial farming practices that are very concentrated or centralized into few hands are good. Fortunately, the 2018 Farm Bill passed in December, legalizing hemp production in the U.S. 80,000 acres are already under cultivation, which permits another 15,000 acres awaiting approval. I actually didn't know this. They need to get rid of the THC limit on hemp. It's really hard to keep it below 0.3%. Yikes. Okay. Hey, Saraton, thanks for the follow. Appreciate that. Commercial farming is repugnant 99% of the time. Yeah, it's very bad. In fact, I've mentioned this before, but for example, where my co-host lives, it's extremely destructive to small farmers, because basically what ends up happening is small farmers just end up producing for these large companies. they kind of get stuck in a effective debt trap. It's very predatory, and it's extremely destructive to the environment. It's just bad all around. There's just like no good um no good reason as to why we shouldn't have more as to why we shouldn't break up these large like commercial farms and just make them into smaller, more family owned farms. Decriminalize all drugs. True. That's right, Darknet. So far, studies have only looked at non-psychoactive hemp, but if this French keeper's bees are any indication, future studies could prove that bees love THC-containing cannabis too. I bet, because like they're what they want is the pollen. Doesn't matter. Like what they want is the pollen. Yep, that's right. That's right. And what ends up happening is that a lot of these small farmers, unfortunately, end up in a what effectively is a debt trap. Yeah, corporate farming. That's right. I just thought that this study was interesting, and I hope that more people realize um just how important bees are, and strengthen the argument as to why we should focus, or why we should have more hemp. Why hemp should be the norm. It could do so much good. So much good. Alright, folks. We gotta go over this one. And totally cool and normal things that should happen, GOP mega donor celebrates his profits from huge increase in rents as million face eviction. Cool. Nice meme. Billionaire Blackstone CEO Steve Schwarzman has bragged about his firm's big earnings off high rents, and he boasted his firm was a huge winner coming out of the global financial crisis in 2008. Cool. World's largest private equity firm has bankrolled campaigns against rent control and has been accused by the UN of fueling a global housing crisis. Nice, it just gets better. Now, as billions are threatened with evictions during the pandemic, Blackstone's top executive is openly bragging that the firm is making huge profit off rent increases. Wow, yeah, this just keeps getting better and better. At the Goldman Sachs Financial Service Conference on December 9th, Blackstone's billionaire CEO Steven Schwarzman boasted that after the 2008 financial crisis, his firm was able to cash in on the mortgage crisis. Yeah, mind you, there was this other article in which I went over the fact that that water is going to be on the stock market, and people like this guy were basically counting on the climate crisis. You know, in this case, they were counting on the housing crisis in 2008. In this case, they're counting, in the case of the water being introduced into the stock market, they're counting on the climate crisis to fill their pockets. This is just like this is like comic book villain level. Hemp is almost good for everything. We can cut back on eliminate what's left of cotton production, and paper made from hemp trees. Hemp produces more per acre. Yes, that's true. It's true. Both Phil Collins did a short video about the wider crisis. Oh, okay, I'm actually interested in checking that out. Is it recent? Is it recent? And if so, can you if not, can you link it? At that time, the company was able to buy up foreclosed homes and convert them into rental properties, subsequently plagued by accusations of dilapidation and excessive fees, all while it received a big financial boost from the government. Nice. Must be nice. Schwartzman, a top Republican donor. It just keeps getting better. And close ally of President Trump indicated his firm is positioning itself for a similar jackpot. You always have winners and losers. Blackstone was a huge winner coming out of the global financial crisis, and I think something similar is going to happen. Oof. Okay. So, you know how people have been talking about the impending like eviction crisis and things like that? This is the same. This is exactly the same. This guy over here is counting on it to fill his pockets. This guy, in fact, probably wants a large eviction crisis, because then they can buy up, or I guess foreclosure, because you know, obviously, evictions can trickle or domino effect into foreclosures, right? About half of the earn. Then he discussed how his firm is generating big revenues today. About half of the firm's earnings are from a real estate business. Just to give you some idea of how this breaks, we picked the good neighborhoods, if you will. Ho 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 ho. Yikes. Okay. Real estate has a lot of different sub-asset classes, and we're concentrated on logistics. It's about 36% of all the real estate we own. We're the largest owner of real estate in the private world. Cool. Nice meme. And the asset that has boomed with huge increases in rents, almost no occupancies, rent collections from almost everyone. Blackstone recently made billions selling off its single-family residential rental business, but in the last year, the company has been buying new stakes in residential rental properties. In 2018 and 2020, it gave millions to political groups that successfully sought to defeat rent control ballot initiatives in California. Cool. Nice meme. Where Blackstone has a significant real estate investment. Wow. This is extremely infuriating. Blackstone has also been evicting residents during the pandemic, according to court filings compiled by a private equity stakeholder project. Even it just keeps getting better. Now I'm sure that at this time, they have not been able to evict anybody, but that doesn't stop them from filing, right? So what's going to end up happening is a lot of these people have already filed to evict people, and come what, January, February, maybe like March as well, it's going to be, if nothing gets fixed, if this continues and nothing and it just is let on the same path, we're going to be seeing tens of millions of people, right? So, yeah. This is gonna get pretty bad if nothing gets done. Now, what Congress can do is actually get together and propose a serious economic stimulus package that helps the people and prevent this from being effectively 2008 or maybe worse all over again. How Portland handled the cops that tried to evict them, it's the reaction all renters need to have. I mean, don't even know what you do. Like, people need housing, people need food, people need these things. I've also seen protests where they try to block entrances to the courthouses because, again, technically you could file for evictions, but you nothing's gonna happen as long as the moratorium on the government is active, which is gonna expire actually in 2 weeks ish. The other host and I covered stimulus slap fights on our last stream. They aren't any talks going on. It's just schoolyard bickering. Yeah, it really does seem that way. And I didn't know. I didn't know you streamed. Is it exactly like this, or is it just anarchist laboratory? Is it like this? Aha. There we go. So, yeah, if nothing continues and they continue to bicker around like schoolyard children, it's gonna get really bad. Anybody in here pay child support? What kind of question is that? Kind of strange, my friend. And Blackstone has faced a legal showdown in New York. Tenants at one of the city's largest rental complexes, which it owns. There, the company has been trying to exempt thousands of units from rent regulation laws. The company has reportedly even kept Manhattan units empty rather than face rent control regulations. Wow. And that's only because they have, because they're so huge, they can kind of like make that decision, right? Are those corporate political contributions allowed as corporate tax deductions, meaning taxpayers get to pay for the lobbying against our own interests? I don't know. For its part, Blackstone told the Daily Post that the firm is not evicting people and that the only evictions that have been matters of public nuisance and or risk to public health or public safety. And why are there reports of you filing for evictions? This makes no sense. During the Goldman Sachs conference, Schwartzman seemed to insinuate that his firm may even buy up more residential real estate to try to squeeze even more revenue out of renters in the pandemic-ravaged economy. Yeah, nice. So again, they're actually banking on this to happen. They want to buy up properties that gets foreclosed on and stuff like that. Hey, Elio, how's it going? Yeah, basically. It's really frustrating because, like, they're supposed to be representing the people. Their obligation is to this country. In other words, what I mean is their obligation is to the citizens of this country, the people. And that means everybody, okay? And right now, we're experiencing an unprecedented pandemic, which has caused a huge economic crisis. And here they're playing games. I mean, unironically, political football with this stimulus package, with trying to get some type of temporary UBI for people while we get this together, some type of temporary like Medicare for all so that people can get what they need in terms of like healthcare during this time. Um, and we're fighting over business liability protections, not even proposing any type of serious stimulus to the people, which, by the way, this is month number 10. They've passed a total of one stimulus check to people of $1,200. That isn't even rent for a majority of places. Isn't even a month's worth of rent for the majority of places. What exactly is your purpose then in government? You're supposed to be representing the interests of the people. You're not doing that. You're just sitting around here playing essentially political football with people's lives. People, I mean, it's the roof over your head. Meanwhile, there's still continuing hour-long, effectively bread lines because people can't afford food. Incredible. Incredible. It's really frustrating because, like, there's so much blame to go around when it comes to trying to seriously get any legislation passed for the people. It's so tough. I don't get it. It's so tough. Ah. You know what's not tough? Passing $700 and something billion for the defense budget. That's why we can't hang our hats on policy change to trickle down from above. We have to actively organize on the ground with direct actions. Yeah, I mean, seriously, what I always stress is that people have to reach out. Community outreach. Understand that we're all really stuck in this, right? In this together, and there's going to be a lot of people suffering, and it's going to take community organizing to try to alleviate the situation.
Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So let me start off by saying that if you hear pinging or a banging noise during this video, that's water dripping out of the trees over the shop onto the tin roof. I normally don't record when this is happening, but today it seems kind of fitting. I also want to point out that despite the fact that what I'm about to say is going to sound like something out of a dystopian novel, this is not a satire video. Today, we're going to talk about futures. You know, like corn futures, wheat futures, oil futures, a new kind of futures, water futures, because that's a thing now. Water futures. If you don't know what futures are, super basic way of looking at it, it's a contract that allows a large consumer of something to lock in a price of a commodity and the seller to lock in a price of a commodity. Also allows people to position themselves based on whether they think that price is going to go up or down in the future. Opens the door for speculation.
Commodities, you know, like water.
Now, when people talk about this, they're going to point out the good things, and there are some. It will help large farmers kind of guess what their water costs are going to be in the future. It'll be a good tool for discovering how much you should pay or how much you should sell for. there's going to be a lot of talk about this and trying to frame it in a way that is really positive. But at the end of the day, one of the really important things to realize here is that price fluctuations are what make a market like this. And those fluctuations are caused by supply and demand. This is a really good indication that some pretty smart people see large fluctuations in the supply and demand of water.
Yeah, that's what I said. When I read this is exactly what I said. And I said, wait a minute. They're actually counting on this. 10th month of the pandemic, news outlets are already vaccines in Boston, New York, the end of the pandemic. No, folks. No. It is not the end of the pandemic just because we've gotten the first few doses of the vaccine. No. If things continue to give positive results, I would hope that maybe by the end of 2021, early 2022, we can finally say, okay, well, most people have gotten vaccinated to the point where we can say, well, probably not as big of a problem anymore. I'm hoping, because it's not just because the vaccine is here that the pandemic is over, folks, okay? We still have to get people to take it, and we still have to see or continue to see positive results. If these positive results continue, then we might see something good further down the future. Well, Rick, to be honest, if you were to solve this problem, honestly, and this is just me giving my opinion because I'm economically illiterate, this would be one of the few times you want the money printer to go burr and give people and inject the economy, the real economy, with money. That means stimulus to people, stimulus to real small businesses. That means the working class and the middle class. And design, create, implement, whatever you want to call it, a nice, hard-hitting tax on the uber wealthy.
It's probably worth noting. This little instrument, this little tool, is going to be based on the NASDAQ-Valez California Water Index.
Right, exactly, Darknet. So that's why I'm saying, like, if you really want to try to attempt to solve this problem, I may be wrong, but this would be one of the very few times, or situations I should say, where you do want the money printer to go burr and get it to people, everybody, all the working class, all the middle class, the people who actually need this to sustain themselves during this economic crisis. And that would probably be a semi better way of kind of lessening the economic blow. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Cancel rent and mortgages and pay people to stay home. Yeah, absolutely. And make sure that that's right. That would be the correct terminology. Cancel, not hold, because you know what's going to happen, right? Some of these people are going to owe back rent. No. And back pay on mortgages. No. Cancel, freeze them completely, meaning that they don't owe this for just this moment. And then stay and get people to stay home. That's how you flatten this this curve and lessen the economic impact. Because if you pay people to stay home, you at least get them to be able to afford stuff like food. You know, turns out food is very important. Get that money back to the workers that had. Yeah, it's just like a weird way of going about it, Rick. I'm tuning away, taking credit for the vaccine. Yeah. No, no, I don't think he needs another TV network. I think that's good. Yeah, can't like just kind of like put a legit pause on all of this and get people to stay home and take care of their needs while they're staying home. And yes, a like a Medicare for all kind of deal to take care of people's medical needs. Yeah, this all sounds good.
The symbol is NQH2O, if you want to look into it. Came on the scene around 2018 at about 370. I want to say now it's hanging out around 500. Pretty significant increase. Right now, 2 billion people in the world face water scarcity, water insecurity issues. By a lot of estimates, 2/3 of the world's population will face water shortages by 2025.
That's right.
That is not some distant year. That is right around the corner. Because while the world is covered in water, only 3 to 4% of it is fresh. And a whole lot of that is really hard to get to. So this is something that's on the horizon. And there are a whole bunch of ways to look at this information. You can look at it in the sense of, well, I mean, yeah, it's something we need to get prepared for. We need to have a good gauge. You can look at it in the sense of the fact that 2/3 of the world's population is going to face water shortages, and in a truly American spirit, somebody found a way to profit on it. But I think most relevant to the people watching this is that this is a really good tool. You want to find the silver lining to the fact that we now live in the setting to some movie or book that we do not want to be in. This is a good tool because there are a whole lot of people out there that do not believe this issue is real. There is a whole futures market dedicated to water now. That's a thing. It exists. For those people who talk to others about climate change, environmental degradation, this should probably come up.
And watch the vid. Yep.
Because this is one of those
How's it going,
things that you can
Atramentous?
point to. It is concrete. These are titans of industry here. They're saying we need to start paying attention to this. If they're doing it, that may sway people who don't want to take this seriously. So yeah, there's some pretty unnerving elements to this,
No kidding.
but it's also handing us a tool that we can use to show people, no, the impacts of this are real, and they are going to affect us. We should probably engage in some changes before these numbers get too high for the average person. Anyway,
Not only that, desalination. We don't know what the domino effect is. By doing that to the ocean. Bleak Blood covered this vid and talked about desalination of water as a viable option to combat coming water shortages. I mean, like, it could be a band-aid, but I don't know if that's a long-term solution, right? Like, it could potentially help alleviate it for a moment, but we don't know what the repercussions might be when it comes to starting to do that to the ocean. I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Desalination also takes a ton of energy. Yep, it does. I don't think we have a process really. Apparently, one more attempt in the U.S. House and or Senate to overturn the election. Oh man, that's a nice meme. wars and shit is gonna happen from it? Maybe. Because guess what? Things get desperate. I mean, if things get desperate enough, it will cause conflict. I mean, we knew about this for like we knew about this from decades. Like people that talk about climate change don't just are it's like not just that we have a it's not that, you know, we have a warmer season and that's it. There are so there are so many repercussions and domino effects that happen. You know, like for example, we won't be able to grow food because of climate change. What happens when we can't grow food the way we are able to? That's right. It's going to start causing famines. So, what do you think is going to happen when people start to go hungry in the in the hundreds of millions? Ooh, that might be a problem, don't you think? What about the water? What do you think is going to happen when this life-sustaining element is scarce? Well, it sets the stage up for conflict. People don't realize just how serious the domino effects of climate change are. Sometimes. I've actually not seen his take on this, but yeah, like desalination is basically a very small band-aid. If you can funnel enough energy towards it, yeah. I would prefer. I mean, if that's all we can get, that's all we can get. But I would prefer a little bit something more down the line. Because like again, this is happening in 2025. It is very possible that 2/3 of people will suffer some type of water shortage. 2/3. That's a problem. That's not in the next lifetime. That's not, oh well, that's only generations away. Oh, that's, you know, it's not gonna affect me. It's my children's children. They'll figure it out. Technology will evolve by then. No, this is happening faster than people think. You know why it's happening faster than people think? Because nobody's doing anything about it, so it's accelerating exponentially. I went over that article. I believe it was Stupka or Chai Bureaucrat. I can't remember. Who posted it, where scientists are actually thinking about geoengineering because nobody's doing anything, and that would be kind of like a last ditch effort where even they don't know, you know, what the repercussions are, but they're thinking about stuff like throwing iron into the ocean or building like reflective stuff on the in space, or doing like essentially geoengineering. Yes, even some cloud seeding, stuff like that, because it's so bad that they're willing to take these measures, or at least they're planning for it. And um that tells you that the situation is pretty dire when scientists are already thinking of these type of alternatives that they normally wouldn't consider. Not only that, you have investors, one of top hedge fund investor dudes, banking on the fact that water will be scarce. In fact, calling it a good investment because they know, they know, they know. It's the same thing that's happening here. AHI bureaucrat. uh,
Hey kids,
no. I don't believe this. Wait a minute.
I'm Donald Trump, your president, and I'm going to read you a story. It's a very special story about a very special reindeer. Once upon a time, in the forest, there
Okay,
was a little
this was needed.
reindeer. All the reindeers agreed he was the best reindeer out of all the reindeer.
Out of all the reindeer.
The next day, grumpy old sleepy-eyed reindeer came into town and started saying, you know, the reindeer who's awesome, you know what? He's not awesome. But he is awesome. All the reindeers said, but he's awesome. I think that we should have an election. I mean, like a vote to see.
They tried to
who is
privatize the city
best
water service.
out of all the
Yikes.
reindeers. Why do we need an election? We don't need an election. Everyone knows I'm the best. The forest has never been better. But he demanded an election. So they went to the North Pole and asked Santa.
Oh, man. Okay, that was humorous. Anyway. So just like how they're banking, yeah, because not burning fossil fuels is apparently too radical. You know, the destruction of our planet, okay. Attempting to fix the problem and attempting to actually talk about solutions, radical. So just in the same way that you know, that other dude was banking on the water futures and saying that this is the new investment to do, and that he's very excited. This company is also banking on the impending economic crisis, and in fact, they're probably betting on it because it must mean that it's gonna get really bad, and what their plan is to just buy up more property, just like in 2008. So that doesn't sound really good. It tells me that if they know and if they're betting on it, then it's probably a good idea to pay attention. During Goldman Sachs conference, Schwartzman seemed to insinuate that his firm may buy up even more residential real estate to try to squeeze out even more revenue out of renters in the pandemic-ravaged economy. In the suburbs, for example, suburban residential has turned out to be a quite good place to be. When the cities get cheap enough, then you go back to doing that. There's a lot of interesting things. A lot of interesting things that every part of the firm is really operating full out, which if you would have asked me in April whether anything like this would have been possible, you'd have to say no. In recent years, Blackstone has been buying up warehouse space in a play to reap rents off the burgeoning e-commerce business, and the firm is now the world's largest commercial landlord. Cool. That gives Blackstone enormous power to jack up rents and potentially bankrupt pandemic-battered small businesses. So it's like, this is just so bad all around. Hey, new good official. This is just so bad. It's just so bad. Really hope Cindy Axne gets the election for Iowa. She's pushing to ramp up green energy. Yeah, that's good. Situation in Britain is a cautionary tale. Blackstone has become UK small business largest landlord, and the company has been accused of jeopardizing the viability of those businesses by refusing to waive rent, and when those businesses were forced to shut down during the pandemic. Blackstone can now benefit from congressional proposals to use government money to bail out the commercial real estate industry. Wow. Oh, this is so backwards. This is so backwards. In October, House Democrats passed legislation that would create a one-year eviction moratorium, which could limit the power of Blackstone and other Wall Street landlords to throw out people in their homes during the pandemic. The bill, though, is being blocked by Senate Republicans. Nice. Political machine has received $35 million from Schwartzman. Wow, nothing to see here. Schwartzman donated another $15 million in late November as the GOP group ramped up the spending in the January runoff races in Georgia that will decide which party controls the Senate. Blackstone has also ties to Democrats. Cool. Nice. Like I said, when it comes to this, there is just so many. There's a lot of blame to go around. There's a lot of blame to go around here. It's like anybody who thinks that just because, you know, anybody who thinks that like the Democrats are unculpable, not guilty, it's just not true. They definitely have a share to blame. Now, of course, you know, the other the Republican Party has been horrendous and seriously worse, but this is unexcusable from the Democratic Party, right? Yeah, I know, anarchist. Just so you know, Milwaukee had socialist mayors from 1910 until 1960. We had the best services until then. Now it's just been picked apart. Oof. Wisconsin used to be based. My family is well known in Kaukauna because we're a bunch of unionizers. Nice. Blackstone also has ties to Democrats who could block or limit any eviction moratorium in 2021. 7 Blackstone executives, including Chief Operating Officer John Gray, each donated $50,000 to a super PAC that backed President-elect Joe Biden. Gray raised money for Biden's campaign and also donated $2 million to Senate Democrat super PAC. It's like, it's so like comic book villain to see how this plays out. It's like this massive corporation is just easily able to like inject money into both parties and then get favors in return, you know, bending of the rules. During the presidential campaign, Biden told Gray during a teleconference fundraiser that while corporate America has to change its ways, it's not going to require legislation, and I'm not proposing any. Great. That's just what we need. You know, like I said, this just keeps getting better. Well, again, if nothing changes, like, I don't think people understand. Like, these people don't realize what is going to happen if this continues, right? Like, are you... It's so short-sighted and so comic book evil. I mean, you don't see it. These people don't see it. They think that it's gonna be fine. They think that the only thing that's gonna happen is they're gonna end up just lining their pockets even deeper. They think that this is a perfect opportunity to expand their power. That's not how that works, right? There's only so much you can do before people get tired. I mean, you're gonna leave people with nothing. You're gonna leave people out on the street to the tune of tens of millions. You know that, right? You know that if that continues. I'm gonna let you play in the background, so I gotta shower quick and make some coffee. Make some coffee so I have the mental energy to deal with this hellscape. Oh man. Union strong, nice. Very nice. I took this from a local newspaper because sometimes you get better condensed reporting from the local news. As the article states, moratorium bill blocked by the Senate. Yeah, it can be. Don't feel like the Senate is willing to do anything regarding this. I mean, in their eyes, The only thing that they're willing to, the thing that the Senate is currently fighting for right now in terms of any type of COVID economic relief package is liability protections for businesses. That's what they're interested in. And filling up the payment protection program, which has been used to funnel money to large corporations and not small businesses anyway. So it's like, it's just one giant mess. Michigan House and Senate close offices due to threats ahead of electors meeting. Lansing, Michigan. Citing safety and security concerns, the Michigan House and Senate will close their offices in downtown Lansing on Monday today, as presidential electors meet in the state capitol on Sunday night. House and Senate officials sent out notifications about the closures to members and staff. At 2 p.m. Monday, the state's 16 presidential electors will convene in the Senate chamber to cast their votes for the Democratic president-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. Some are expecting protesters in support of the Republican President Donald Trump to gather outside the building, which will be closed to the public. Amber McCann, spokeswoman to Senate Majority Leader Mike Shirkey, Barklake said Sunday that the Senate closed its office based on recommendations from law enforcement. The decision was not based on anticipated protests, but credible threats on violence. Ooh, nice meme. This is totally normal things that happen in a democracy. Due to safety and security concerns, the Senate and all Senate spaces in downtown Lansing would be closed Monday, December 14th. The Senate notification said the Capitol, Binsfield office building, and Senate office within Bogie Tower will be closed. The notification to House staffers said only those needed for Electoral College will be permitted in the Capitol building. And here's the consequent tweet. Thousands of pro-Trump protesters. Electoral votes today, then goes to Congress for acceptance January 6th of 2021. That should be the final nail in coffin for reject Trump. Well, no, there's going to be at least, yeah, that might be the next Cope Fest, but the other one will be January 21st when the inauguration happens. That'll be the hopefully the last Cope Fest that we'll have to deal with. Thousands of pro-Trump protesters rallied in Washington, D.C. over the weekend as the president's campaign continues to push to discredit overturning the results. Based on unproven claims of voter fraud, the demonstrations led to dozens of arrests, several stabbings, and injuries to police officers. Yeah. So you're telling me by some of the logic that I've heard, so you're telling me based on some of the logic that I've heard that this wasn't indeed a peaceful protest, right? Biden won Michigan by 51 to 48%, or by 154,000 votes. The Board of State Canvassers certified the results on November 23rd. But supporters of the president have filed lawsuits and called for Republican lawmakers to intervene in awarding the state's 16 presidential electors. It will be. I don't think Trump supporters are still. No, I wasn't talking about that. Inauguration Day will be the last of it. I'm saying, like, I'm hoping that this will be the end. Like, that's it. It's over. It's over. And hope you're doing all right, Zach. I heard they were burning and looting and killing evil hunt evil. It's really funny because, they were chanting that we don't destroy property. And, Uh-oh. I was watching some of the live streams. I heard it from their own mouths. They were chanting, we don't destroy private property or something like that, or we don't destroy property, or we don't, or we don't riot or something like that, even though there's been plenty of cases where some of these what is it, drinking club with a patriotism problem that is totally not political have been arrested and charged with all of these things. Violent pro-Trump thugs. Yes. Who is we? I was watching a live stream from the Cope Fest that happened this weekend, and it was the Proud Boys who were chanting, they don't destroy property or whatever it is. I think they were saying we don't destroy property, or we don't destroy private property or something like that. But of course, that's not true. In that same night, they did. Vandals target historic black churches during pro-Trump rallies. These are the same guys, by the way, who ended up assaulting people during this riot, during this protest, during this night. There's videos. There's videos of them assaulting people. But you know, they're totally fine, right? Nothing to see here. Hey, Dorian. I saw them attack people for wearing masks inside a car. Not surprised. Proud Boys are all in prison, as far as I know. Some of them are. Some of them are. There was about 30-something arrests. Well, what's funny, Dorian, is the Proud Boys and the Trumpers were mad that the police were keeping them away from the counter-protesters, some of which were Antifa. And they were mad at the police, and you could actually hear them say, like, sometimes, like, what's going on here? You drive us to them. In other words, it's an admission that sometimes police let this happen. Police are investigating as possible hate crimes and tearing down the burning of Black Lives Matter banner and sign from 2 historic black churches during unrest at pro-Trump protests in Washington, D.C. over the weekend. Saturday's vandalism. Again, we don't destroy property. Saturday's vandalism, Asbury United Methodist Church and the Metropolitan African Methodist Episcopal Church. So, like, what? So you knew. Oh my God, this just gets worse. Are acts of both racial terror and religious violence, per statement from Yolanda Pierce, Deans of D.C. Howard University's School of Divinity. Ian Thur Mills, a senior pastor at Asbury United Methodist Church, founded in 1836, said in a statement that acts of reminiscent of cross burning, noting that we face an apparent rise in white supremacy. Historically, black churches have been targeted by white supremacists and acts of violence in the U.S. Violent clashes erupted in D.C. Saturday between supporters of Trump who refused to accept his election loss to President-elect Biden and counter-protesters. The men, some dressed in MAGA hats, who were captured on video burning the banner at the Asbury Church, were later identified as members of the far-right group Proud Boys. Cool. So, in other words, these are domestic terrorists. Another video shows protesters tearing down the sign at the Metropolitan African Methodist Episcopal Church and stomping on it while shouting, "Whose streets? Our streets." Cool. Nice meme. Yes, I have seen instances where they definitely were, Darknet. I've seen incidents also of Proud Boys going up to law enforcement and doing the cool right up to law enforcement. Totally normal things that happen. It's almost like protests were always going to have some of these elements. Small group, yeah. I've been completely uninformed since the election. I got so sick of politics. Understandable, considering after Biden's win, I thought it was over. Yeah, we're going to be dealing with this for a bit.
There we go. Hey, Tony, you got this? Tony, you got this? Hey, Tony. Get that shit. There we go. Hey, Tony, you got this? Tony, you got this?
Cool. Totally normal things. This is so dystopic.
I work 10-hour days. My feet hurt. I'm tired. I don't want to fight no more.
That's fine.
Fuck Antifa! Fuck Antifa!
Fuck Antifa!
Oh, there it is. Hey, oh, cool. There, yeah, nice meme. Hold on, pose for the picture, guys. Hold on, pose for the picture. Cool. Nice meme. Incredible.
There you go. Got you, baby.
Out of your fucking balls!
Cool. This is getting TOS iffy. Yeah. At least they were kind enough to show their faces on cam. Oh yeah, I know. They're being investigated. They were identified. DC Mayor Muriel Bowser said in a statement that Sunday that the Office of Religious Affairs and Metropolitan Police Department are engaging in the engaging the impacted houses of worship. Yep. Yep. I knew this thing happened, but is it widespread? Well, right now, what happened in this weekend was an entire cope fest. Because they're mad that Daddy Trump lost. That's it. That's literally the premise of this entire protest. I mean, like, I would even say, like, I wouldn't, yeah, big mad. I wouldn't even, like, I mean, I personally wouldn't even go out to counter protests. Like, these clowns are making themselves look absolutely ridiculous all by themselves, you know? And it's funny because, like, I thought that this protest was a protest against the election results, and it ends up being, them going to churches and taking down, like, specifically BLM, what's it called? Signs and banners. Last time I ever engaged with politics was last month on this channel. No, I'm saying that this is why it's happening, Zach Fair. I barely leave the house for food. Who has time to protest in favor of fascism? Thousands of people, apparently. Has this story been covered by cable media outlets? Yes, I believe so. In fact, well, most of their stuff is mainly like, mostly their stuff is mainly, their stuff is mainly like the people that got hurt. Maybe it is. It's crazy. How do people like think like this? I've been asking that same question. How do people think like this in this day and age? I've been asking myself that question, and I have yet to find out. It's like people are having some type of disconnect where reality just doesn't exist. Hey, Wing. Yeah, I barely leave my house for food. It was time. Exactly. It was time to protest in favor of fascism. I live in QLD, Australia, and there's been a media blackout about all of this. No one talks about it. It's just assumed that Biden won, and that's that. Nothing more drama. Well, ideally, in any normal situation, it would be very... It would just be, okay, Biden is the president and that's it. I mean, this didn't happen in 2016, by the way. There wasn't literal thousands and thousands of people protesting because, like, they thought the election was rigged, right? It just, like, Clinton lost and that was it. Now, there's protests against Trump because, obviously Trump was a bad candidate, but never contesting a very legitimate process. That was never contested, ever. Except on the Trump side when he thought that millions of illegals somehow voted, right? But then there was a voter integrity commission that had to be disbanded because they didn't find anything. Right, and that's fine, Zach, but never contesting the results in this manner. Never contesting the results and saying that this process was illegitimate and rigged. Hey, Comrade Mobiles. The reality is what they immerse themselves in, and unfortunately Fox News, Tim Pool, and our big time with the big view numbers, and it's all driven by capital, big money is put into misinformation campaigns. Sometimes, yes. Like, this is just like, whoa. What happened? Okay, we're back. Feels like these people are realizing that they are at bottom of the class system and fighting against that. If they can keep minorities in a worse position, at least they're at the bottom. At least that's how it feels. I forgot he existed. Sometimes I go out over his ridiculous videos. Simply because just at the massive amounts of views that he gets, it's like sometimes I just can't ignore it and have to go over it. There may be some there definitely feels I think that there's some feelings in that way, Stuka. It's just like we're all in this, right? Like, you do realize that, like, you don't need to blame others. We're all in this screwed up situation. It stands to reason. Maybe we work better together. Maybe we should have true empathy and true compassion for our for others, like actual legitimate empathy and compassion, and take a moment, realize that it's not the other. I think that largely because they grew up in a group where even the thought of criticizing capitalism is bad. They have to ask, but is bad asked. They have to think it's other people's fault. Capitalism isn't working, whether it's a race or the Illuminati or whatever the group they want to blame. Yes, that's what I'm saying. We have to realize that it's not others. It's just that there's serious fundamental failings that are happening, and our leadership is nowhere to be found. "33 were arrested." The Blackstone? Yes. So I can mold about it on stream? Alright, there you go. No problem. I think Biden is too old, not a popular opinion, but I think that he is. I think Trump is worse though. So why vote Biden into the primary? I think people were afraid. There was a lot of reasons why that happened. I think people were afraid. I think people thought Biden was the safe one. I also think that the coalescence of the more establishment slash corporate wing of the Democratic Party in a last ditch, in a last second maneuver, gave Biden the push because that's who they wanted. And yeah, combination. Sanders also had some shortcomings in his campaigning as well. So I mean, there was a lot of different factors as to why Biden won. Yeah, I believe so. I believe his campaign was ran. He could have ran his campaign better. And I think he underestimated also. He underestimated the what you would call the more corporate wing of the Democratic Party. In fact, I think he was banking on the more corporate establishment wing to kind of fight each other, and that would have given him the win. It was complete short. That was a complete short sight. No coalition building was a shortcoming. He needed to go a lot harder on Biden instead of calling him his good friend all the time. Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of mistakes that were made. Centrist Voltron was going to kill the Bernie campaign regardless. I don't accept that. The campaign is in any way to blame for the loss. Well, no, sourcing. I think they did make mistakes. I'm just saying that there was a lot of things that happened that resulted in Sanders losing. You mean on more government or what? What do you mean, Chibirkat? Oh shoot, I forgot to shill for myself, folks. If you guys enjoy the channel, please go ahead and just smack that follow button, and head on over to our YouTube channel and just hit that subscribe button. It really does help us out. Please, if you have a moment, just go ahead and just smack that subscribe button somewhere. I really, really appreciate that. Get out the vote? You mean like During the primaries or during general? Because I know that Bernie did a lot for the general election. Yeah, I don't know. I supported Tulsi primarily. Whoa, wait a minute. I supported Tulsi primarily, Andrew Yang second, Bernie third, and finally Biden. Bernie was the last change vote against Trump, though nothing more. Centrist Wilson was primary at fault. The establishment holds the power over the levers of our democratic process. Well, in terms of like who they choose or who they want to be, they absolutely do. If he had stayed with the 2016 approach, he would just now be blamed for that. So it's always going to be a long shot. Yeah, true. Ugh. Yeah, depending on how you ask it, Stupka. Depending on how you ask it. I think that... Oh, thanks for the raid, Olo Bustias. I appreciate that. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Thank you. I appreciate the raid. That was a little disappointing. Yeah, well... Yeah, maybe you're right, sourcing. I'm just saying, like, maybe... I guess the argument would be things could always have been better, but I don't know. Yeah, I had the C-SPAN stream on and they put up the paywall. What? I thought C-SPAN was like the way of watching politics, right? Like watching like electoral politics. I thought C-SPAN was the place to see it. Oh. They could have let the process play out and Bernie would have gathered majority, albeit slowly. Yeah, that's why I was saying, depending on how you ask it, because like, if you poll and make it so, because polling, in a way, you can get the answers that you're looking for, because you can say, how do you feel about losing your private health insurance? Do you know that you'll be kicked off if you go through a Medicare for all? That doesn't really sound good. But if you say, hey, maybe we should move into a more universal system so that many people can get covered, you'll be covered, your family will be covered, this will be economically more, this will be more economic for you, it will actually save you money in the long run, you don't have to worry about co-pays or premiums, co-insurance, things like that. Most people will be okay with that. It's just that you kind of poison the well by saying very charged questions like, hey, how do you feel about getting kicked off your insurance? Well, only rich people get to know what Congress is doing now. Apparently, if it's behind a paywall. I don't understand why any... That's so weird. Why would you put C-SPAN behind the paywall? Are you with or against Tulsi and Yang? Those two represent a possible change of my mind, but I knew the establishment would never let them win, and they didn't. I'm not really a big fan of either of them. You can say that maybe Yang brought some interesting conversations with the whole UBI thing, but like that's as much as like as far as I'll go, in terms of like even entertaining either of those two. Right, but I'm saying that depending on how you ask it, you get a different answer, right? This is the same as polls saying that would you be okay with Obamacare, and then polls asking would you be okay with an Affordable Care Act. They're the same thing, right? So depending on how you ask a question, you can get the answers. You can get a different answer. So it's like, okay. So for those of you that know, or live in Georgia, there are very important primary races, not primary, runoff races that are happening in Georgia in January 5th. One of these people is Kelly Loeffler. And lo and behold, Georgia Senator Kelly Loeffler was criticized Saturday and Sunday for posing behind a former KKK leader with less than a month before the runoff elections in the state that will determine which party controls the U.S. Senate. The picture shows Loeffler smiling behind right-wing activist Chester Doles. It was reportedly posted to Doles' social media account on Saturday with the captions, "Kelly Loeffler and I save America, stop socialism." Doles, who was a leader in the KKK, is a convicted felon with ties to several white supremacist groups, although he claims his current American Patriots USA is free of racism. Cool. In 1993, Doles nearly beat a black man to death. In 2017, he marched in Charlottesville. It just keeps getting better. Wrote Jewish activism group and the Ark at Saturday night tweet with the pictures of Doles and Loeffler. This is who Kelly Loeffler is proudly appealing to.
Theoretically, my only job is
Jesus. Miriam Lipper is the communication director to John Ossoff, who is running against Georgia Senator David Perdue, tweeting, "This is Georgia's GOP on Sunday," in response to the photo. Political and sports commentator Keith Olbermann also criticized Loeffler in a tweet Sunday. "This should be a problem for the Loeffler campaign, but it's hard to say right now." Imagine getting yourself like, imagine this picture, and then it should be a problem, but it's hard to say right now. Oh my god. This should be a problem for Kelly Loeffler, but it's hard to say right now. In other words, some people might see this and be like, meh. Anyways, if you're in Georgia, or know people in Georgia, very important races coming up. Kelly Loeffler and Perdue is on the ballot. My memory of the primaries was that Bernie had become a long shot before COVID hit. Am I wrong on that? Ugh. I don't know. Oh, you're asking source. I don't know. Oh, wait. No. Hold on. Yeah, the drop happened right after Super Tuesday. Yes. Like, it literally went like this. Right after. That's right. No. Sourcing is right. Hold on. The Super Tuesday thing dropped. It, like, you know, there was a huge surge, and then Super Tuesday happened, and it just stopped. It just ended it right then and there. And it just ended right then and there. No, I think honestly it's not amnesia. I think it's just like how daunting this year has been. So I can vote by mail. Voted Biden. I don't know if I need to vote again. I have no idea what is supposed to happen. Well, Zach Fair. No. I don't think it was after Kobe. For Mario's, no. Oh yeah, it was after COVID. Well, who knows? Super Tuesday was a win for mine, but that wasn't even close to the end of the primary process. Yeah, but it started the snowball effect. Because it gives the perception, because of what happens, because of what happened in Super Tuesday, it gave the perception, right? Because that's the kind of weird thing about having primaries separate, is that just because a candidate begins to build momentum and hit Super Tuesday good, it gives that perception that that candidate is strong, whether or not that's true, and then that kind of just snowballs because the rest of the states following have it perceived that Biden is a strong candidate, and therefore kind of just snowball. That's what I was talking about sourcing. It's like, yes, it's not the entirety of the primary process, but it does have an effect. Nope. Don't forget the media also jumped on board the DNC Voltron and move and amplify the centrist candidate. I just think that Bernie was crushed. I just think that stating that Bernie was crushed is missing the realities of the election this year. Okay. Yeah, I don't think he was exactly blown out. I just think that because of the way our primary was done, or the way the primaries are done, is, you know, allows a situation like this to happen, right? Yeah, you've got the media playing their part too. Like I said, there's a lot of reasons why he lost. Bernie can't talk 24/7. They can. True. Oh yeah, like that, like that meme. That meme. Where it's like, ah, yes, and Bernie in stuck in a very precarious first place. And there was another headline where like Sanders' campaign is in trouble after he won like the second state or third state, I believe. Yeah, that was pretty cringe. I'm gonna give another sub. Hey, I appreciate that. I love how during the debates Bernie showed up with a plan for how he would pay for Medicare for all, and 5 minutes later they asked him how he would pay for it. Yeah, like that. Okay, that question is like an immediate trigger to me, because it's like, well, how are you going to pay for it? Yes, great question. However, we always have, well, we never ask this question. We never ask this question about military budget. We never ask this question when we give trillions to the stock market to just be burned up. We never ask this question because we know where it comes from. Taxes. Duh. We know where this comes from. It's like, well, who's gonna pay for it? Well, yeah, you pay for it by taxes. Don't. It's like asking, how do you pay your mortgage, right? Well, yeah, obviously you pay it with your money. Personally, I accept that neoliberalism one. I'm leading in, making my money, and I will see you at the beach. These people are just now starting to perk at the idea of political change. Thanks to the Donald. I think that if you're interested in making things better, implementing more democratic systems, move things in a better direction, getting more people involved, make things better. I think that make things great again. No. But if you do want to make things better, I think that, hey, a lot of the problems that we're facing can be solved if we had a leadership that was interested in solving some of these core issues. And my prescription to these problems are making sure that people have food, housing, education, and healthcare, which is what Stuka is saying. Raise the floor. That's exactly what it would do. Is there even the slightest chance that Trump could still win? It's almost. I would say it's almost impossible. But it is disturbing, and it is to be taken seriously, the fact that he's been doing the things that he has. And it's also to be noted that a lot of the Republican Party has been completely okay with circumventing the democratic process. I think it's important to remember that. And those that don't agree are woefully silent. That's the takeaway from this. It's not to meme on the court case number 255,306 that he's lost. It's the fact that he continues to push this rhetoric, and it's the fact that the party, from local to state to district attorneys, the federal elected officials, are going with this. That's the disturbing part. Raising the floor is good rhetoric. I think I could win a campaign on that. Yeah, something like that. I mean, a good message. I think that people are okay. Like, people would be acceptable to that. I mean, like, you say things like raising the floor is important. I think that this is an unsustainable level of inequality, and I think that people deserve better in the richest and supposedly the richest country in the world, and we can do better. we should do better, and that includes making sure people have food, housing, education, and healthcare, and people usually are very okay with that. That's a very interesting, weird way of going about it, sourcing, but hey, it could work. I'm a success, I make money, so you have to listen to me. Yeah, hey, I mean, if you can make impact, make an impact, make change, and get people to realize that this ain't working, all more power to you. So try to get rich while advocating for those in less fortunate circumstances. Like, I think it's probably best to, I think, in my opinion, to acknowledge the fact that there are fundamental problems that are happening here in this system, right? I mean, I had somebody come in here and say that capitalism is the best ideology. Now, take a second to digest that. Capitalism is the best ideology. How entrenched is it that you think that an economic system is an ideology? It just goes to show that it's so entrenched that I think that people need to just first realize that there are fundamental problems that are in our system. And it's just not it's not helpful to ignore them. I don't know he's been where you are, but every single news agent's talking about he's attempting to steal it. Aussie media's talked about how it could go either way. It couldn't be civil war. Yeah, I can't stand that rhetoric. I can't stand that rhetoric, Zach. Civil war rhetoric. It could be civil war. It could be millions dead very soon. This is our media's acting. It's scary. Yeah, I can't stand that type of rhetoric. Because it's like, dude, you're fueling the fire, okay? Granted, there are problems, and there have been. We literally just went over incidents that happened, but I don't think that the probability of it devolving to that category is just very small. I'm saying to be aware. I'm saying to be a part of the reason it doesn't evolve into that situation. I hold significant power in each group. From that position, I've been able to break down racial and gender-based barriers that are systematically in place. We need a mole on the inside to break down some of these problems. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's change. As an individual, you do what you can. And sometimes that means organizing. Sometimes that means trying to promote union memberships. Sometimes that means running for local office. Sometimes that means getting community organized to try to bring awareness to issues like climate change, issues like healthcare, issues like the upcoming housing crisis to your local city councils. I mean, these are things that people can do. So yeah, I absolutely think that if you think that you're making a difference and you're having some type of impact on people, absolutely. I'm okay with that. I'm 100% okay with that. And again, sometimes that means doing what you can at your own job. Sometimes that means getting out there in the front lines. Sometimes that means running for office yourself. Sometimes that means getting the community together and talking about these issues, right? Making sure that people are aware of things like climate change. Making sure that people are aware of things like, healthcare. Yeah, it's a very, very interesting approach in terms of like how we take quote unquote business, right? Hey, promote, talk about worker co-ops, things like this. These are things that can have serious impacts. I've always wondered about climate change, what can be done. Realistically, in a perfect world, if politics was on our side, a immediate move to immediate move from fossil fuels in our energy systems, an immediate move to try to restore destroyed ecosystems, an immediate move to try to bring awareness to people. That means probably having scientists at the front lines talking to the media, kind of like how you have COVID-19 press conferences, where you would have climate change press conferences. It would mean implementing technologies or funding technologies that would actually start moving into a carbon negative situation. It would mean cutting oil and gas subsidies. Hey, thanks for the raid, Act.tv. Raid of 5 people. Lots of things can be done, but the main thing will take huge top-down structural changes from large players. Right, so that's what I was saying. Like, make sure that there is political will to actually address some of these real solutions. And that means, in a perfect world, move to green renewable energy as our energy systems, investing to restore our destroyed ecosystems, move to technologies to become carbon negative, take away subsidies of fossil fuels and oil, and use that to promote more renewable energy and make that type of other technology cheaper. And yeah, these are the first things that I would start. And the last, probably big one, is get a international coalition to play ball. No, I don't mean cutting off electricity. No, what are you talking about? Nobody's asking to do that. I mean, instead of being fueled by fossil fuels, it's just fueled by renewable energies, and that can be anything. So far, the cheapest one and the most widespread one is solar. We have wind, we have hydroelectric, we have geothermal. I mean, but I don't think that it's gonna just cut off power immediately. Like in that sense. I mean, no, it doesn't work that way. That's right, Bagel Bites official. Hope you're doing all right. But no, it's not gonna be like that. And those people that are concerned about what's gonna happen to all of these jobs and stuff, well, most of them can help build the future. Don't you think we'll need people to work in building the infrastructure and maintaining the infrastructure, to work and build and maintain these panels, these wind sources, these energy geothermal plants, hydroelectric plants? Somebody's got to build these things. So the factory's making useless junk. Oh man, Darknet also brings up a important part or aspect to addressing the climate crisis. Is we can't continue on this consume mentality and economic system. First of all, it's not sustainable. Second of all, it's huge when it comes to climate impact. I think that the problem with this planned obsolescence, the favorite easy easy target is obviously like Apple, who makes like these unnecessary and just ridiculous products that you have to buy extra products to make it work, and like it's just unsustainable. Okay, and planned obsolescence should probably be done away with. You want to innovate around that. The little plastic figurines look so fun on my Pokemon gingerbreads. Well, you can save them and keep using them, and you could also say that instead of the plastic figurines, you could say the hemp plastic figurines. You'll still have it, it's just more sustainable. Hey, Anarkitty. Yeah. Alright, real quick, folks. Written by Michael Lowry and first published at the Global Eco-Socialist Network. Abstract capitalist system driven at its core by maximization of profit, regardless of social and ecological costs. It's incompatible with a just and sustainable future. Eco-socialism offers a radical alternative that puts social and ecological first, attuned to the links between exploitation of labor and exploitation of the environment. Eco-socialism stands for both reformist and market, stands against both reformist market ecology and productivist socialism. By embracing a new model of robustly democratic planning, society can take control of the means of production and its own destiny. Shorter work hours and a focus on authentic need over consumerism can facilitate the elevation of being over having, and the achievement of a deeper sense of freedom for all. To realize this vision, however, environmentalists and socialists will need to recognize their common struggle and how that connects with the broader movement of movements. Yeah, so the main takeaway from this is that clearly we cannot continue on this path. Clearly there are fundamental broken things, and failure to recognize this, failure to think that we are, failure to continue down this path and thinking that it's not going to affect us is not acceptable. Failing to do so is catastrophic. We're already seeing people betting on water. We're already seeing people betting on water. This is not sustainable. Contemporary capitalist civilization is increasing unlimited accumulation of capital, commodification of everything, ruthless exploitation of labor and nature, and attendant brutal competition undermine the basis of a sustainable future, thereby putting the very survival of human species at risk. The deep systemic threat we face demands a deep systemic change, a great transition. In synthesizing the basic tenets of ecology, the Marxist critique of political economy, eco-socialism offers a radical alternative to unsustainable status quo, rejecting a capitalist definition of progress based on market growth and quantitative expansion, which, as Marx shows, is a destructive progress. It advocates policies founded on non-monetary criteria such as social needs, individual well-being, ecological equilibrium. Eco-socialism offers a critique of both mainstream market ecology, which does not challenge the capitalist system, and a productive socialism which ignores natural limits. Well, that's not a very controversial take, Bagel. Yeah, water is a human right. Turns out we kind of need that, don't you think? As people increasingly realize how economic and ecological crises intertwine, eco-socialism has been gaining adherents. Eco-socialism as a movement is relatively new, but some of its basic arguments date back to the writing of Marx and Engels. Now, intellectuals and activists are recovering this legacy and seeking a radical restructuring of the economy according to principles of democratic ecological planning, putting human and planetary needs first and foremost. The actual existing socialisms of the 20th century, but they're often environmentally oblivious. Bureaucracies do not offer an attractive model for today's eco-socialists. Rather, we must chart a new path forward, one that links the myriad movements around the globe and share the conviction that a better world is not only possible, but also necessary. Yeah. I mean, that's a premise that we all need to understand. It's like it's not that we envision a better world, not that we envision like this impossible world. It's just that it's needed. Failure to address these problems, failure to not understand that if we keep going down this path, it will be unsustainable, will lead to catastrophe. The core of eco-socialism is the concept of democratic ecological planning, wherein the population itself, not the market or a Politburo, make the main decisions about the economy. Early in the Great Transition to this new way of life, with its new mode of production consumption, there are some sectors of the economy must be suppressed. Extraction of fossil fuels implicated in the climate crisis are restructured while new sectors are developed. Economic transformation must be accompanied by active pursuit of full employment with equal conditions for workers and wages. This egalitarian vision is essential for both building a society and for engaging the support of the working class for the structural transformation of production forces. Yeah, I mean, yeah, basically the idea is that you can't have it all, okay? You can't have it all. You can't continue on this path of destroying the planet and think that it's just going to be fine. It's just going to work out. Or thinking that it's just going to make you richer, okay? This is not sustainable. I do believe that in the case of climate change, I believe that the market is incapable of handling this situation. It's not encouraged to do so. It's not inclined to do so. Because the market is encouraged to find where things are cheaper. It's encouraged to find, by any means possible, to find every penny of profit. It's not interested in whether or not it's ecologically sound. I was about to go on 10 months without beef, but then COVID. Hey, at least you went on a 10-month streak. That's also an idea, Zach. Yeah, so the free market will handle the situation, but not in a humane way. No, like the problem is it won't, because it's not encouraged to. Like, and by the time it realizes it needs to pivot, it will be long gone. Like the time that we have will be long past gone by the time the free market will realize what it needs to turn around. You know, by the time the free market realizes it needs to turn ship, right? So it's like, it's just not equipped to do this, in my opinion, in any way, shape, or form. It's just not. The idea that we keep being encouraged to consume, the idea that, you know, something like water would have a futures market where you can bet on the situation, on the scarcity of water. Yeah, basically. And by then, it would be too late, Anarchy. Alright, folks, it is 11:26. I do, unfortunately, have to get going. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you guys hanging out here. I will be back tomorrow, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, doing news and politics. Thank you so much, all of you, for stopping by. Thanks for the new follows. I appreciate that. Thanks for the raid, Hack.tv. Thanks for the raid, Olo Bustias. Thank you, Serotonin. Thank you, Memius, for the subscription. Thank you, A Journey, for the follow. Thank you, Mark Simpson, and I'm Lost in Nowhere for following yesterday. Thank you, Canadian Populist Left. Wait, Canadian Populist Left? Thank you. Appreciate it. Crystal Love, HBMG followed a couple days ago, and I don't think I got to you guys last time. Thank you guys, I appreciate. All right, see you gave me a lot to think about. That's the point. Thank you for stopping by, Ali. I appreciate that, all of you guys, and of course, please be safe. Take care of each other, and as always, I love y'all, and I hope to see you guys in the next stream. See ya! Catch you later, Dorian. Thank you for stopping by. Hey, Mr. Geek is streaming politics. I haven't seen Mr. Geek in a while. Let's go over there. Alright, folks. Let's give Mr. Geek a nice, a difficult truth welcome. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, here we go.